If they have the ability to trade stocks and make money, more power to them. And as long as they're not doing anything illegal or insider trading, I just don't have a big problem with it.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
The stock trading ban in D.C. We mentioned it earlier. Tommy Tuberville doesn't think that $200,000 of taxpayer money is enough to incentivize him to serve the people of Alabama. What do you think about that?
So I was looking into this a little bit. This is one of those issues where, once again, I think the majority of people would probably support a ban on stock trading. I think in the big scheme of things, it really doesn't matter. I don't think most of the corruption happens from stock trading, and it's already illegal to trade stocks based on knowledge that's not public. I mean, that's already in the law. So in terms of this is just going a stepping further and saying, well, you can't trade stocks at all. Well, you know, there's a lot of people that run for Congress that are business owners, and then they run for Congress and they'd have to get rid of all their stocks and stock options. And I just don't think it's one of those things in the big picture that's really going to like stop some kind of mass corruption. I don't think that's the source of corruption in Congress. Now, there could be some reforms in terms of transparency on these things. I could totally support that, but just banning them from trading stocks in general, it's one of those things on the surface I think sounds good, but I don't know if it really does any good, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I agree with you that I don't think that it would end corruption in Washington, but I think that there was an interesting there was an interesting tradition that some Native Americans had in Central America for when they elected their leaders. There was like a ritual torture that they had to go through where all the citizenry like basically beat the crap out of them after they were elected to represent them in their equivalent of a government. And I think that we could do with some of that. And so basically I see this, if nothing else, as a sort of like, you have to make this sacrifice to serve your citizens. And you know, you're welcome that we're not pelting you with stones, you know, basically. And it doesn't prohibit them from putting it into a blind trust or from having mutual funds. It's just like that you can't trade stocks at all. And, you know, you mentioned that it was already illegal to use insider information, but no congressperson has ever been convicted of insider trading. And we know, of course, that they do it because in 2021, almost every single congressperson who traded stocks beat the market, and that's extremely hard to do. And there are already laws around transparency that Senator Tommy Tuberville is actually one of the worst. He was the worst violator of in 2021. There were 132 stock transactions that he made that he didn't report until weeks or months after the reporting deadline. So there are already transparency guidelines that people just don't follow.
Well, I mean, look at the very early stages of the pandemic and how many of the politicians on both sides of the aisle there, how many of those politicians pumped money into Pfizer and Big Pharma while dumping their stocks in, the entertainment industry and other industries that obviously were going to be hard hit by a pandemic. I think that is just so egregious to see so many of those senators and representatives.
You know, on the surface, I can understand that. But, I mean, I think a regular person could have done the same thing. Knowing the pandemic's coming, you might say, oh, I'm going to invest in Big Pharma and get out of the entertainment business, and without being in Congress, you might do that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think at the time this was even before the lockdowns.
Right? Yeah,
trades were made.
It's more of getting the early jump on it.
This was around the time when people were comparing the coronavirus, not illegitimately to the flu, thinking that it wasn't going to be a big deal. Or I remember people talking about, around the time that these trades were made, talking about how, we were really worried about Ebola, but look how that turned out.
Well, it sounds like the issue here then is really enforcement of the continuing laws. You talk about people not following transparency, or they're trading, they're obviously doing it from insider information. Maybe it's really more of an enforcement issue. And I don't know how you fix that because they're the enforcers as well. So I guess you would say maybe then they couldn't trade in general. I'm just afraid. It's just one of those things where I'm afraid there's going to be unintended complications by going this far. And like,
I actually think going that far is
people.
like the simplest thing you can do. Like the complications, I think it's like the least complicated thing you can do. Like you just can't trade stocks, and you're welcome for the $200,000 a year, and that we don't beat the tar out of you.
Yeah, I will say they do make plenty of money.
Yeah.
Some of them complaining they don't make enough money. I was like, what are you talking about?
Right.
But it's just, I was reading a couple things on it, and there were a couple issues that I thought maybe could come up. But it's in terms of the big picture, I guarantee you there's broad support for this. So politically, I think Republicans would be smart to jump on board. But this is sort of that side of me where it's like, I don't really, if they have the ability to trade stocks and make money, more power to them. And as long as they're not doing anything illegal or insider trading, I just don't have a big problem with it.
Well, that was a bummer. I thought we were going to be able to end on some agreement, and I'm assuming then you wouldn't support a bill to introduce ritual beatings of our politicians?
Oh no, I totally support that.
Okay, all right.
Let's do that right now.
All right, thanks, Yaffee. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
All right, thank you.
All right.
No problem.
The attorneys of Maples, Tucker, and Jacobs are proud to represent working people in Alabama and across the Southeast. They have over 100 years of experience representing injured workers in workers' compensation, personal injury, and disability claims. Let their attorneys help you when you get injured on the job. You can find them at www.mtandj.com or 855-617-9333. Let Maples, Tucker, and Jacobs help you when you get injured on the job. Again, the website is www.mtandj.com or the phone number 855-617-9333. No representation is made that the quality of legal services is greater than the quality of legal services from other law firms.